welcome to the last day session on 1 week workshop on Amazon Web Services. So in this session, we'll be focusing on a service which is available in AWS in order to create the private networks, which is basically called as a VPC. That's called as Virtual Private Cloud. So by using Virtual Private Cloud, what we are going to do is we will create our own networks for our organization. So usually any organization will have their own private networks. Okay, suppose let's say when you're working in a company, in any company, they'll have a networking team. And the duty of this networking team is to create a closed network where the people who are working only in that company will be accessible to that network. Outsiders will not be able to access to that network. So that's where we are going to use a concept called virtual private cloud. Right. So let me go to my notepad screen. I hope you're able to see the notepad screen as well. Right. So here, in this particular session, we'll be mostly working with the theoretical part, and here and there we need to work with the practical part. So I'll tell you both the things parallelly. Okay, suppose if I tell the entire theory at once and if I do it in a practical way, it becomes little confusing because this is actually the confused topic in AWS itself, because in order to understand this topic, we need to have a wide range of knowledge. So since this is limited for only 1 day, so I'll just keep as simple as you can understand so that it will be possible for you also to create a private network on your own, especially when you're working in an organization. Right. So here, in order to create a VPC, suppose let's say whenever you want to create an EC2 instance, okay, so to create an EC2 instance, what we need is we need multiple services. Okay, we need multiple options to work. So if you remember, whenever I was creating the EC2 instance, okay, whenever I was creating the EC2 instance, we worked with multiple options. The first option is we have worked with the key pair. Okay, we have created a key pair. Okay, we have created the key page, and then we have created the network. Okay, where we have selected the default network. So I was mentioning about this on the second, third, or fourth day of our workshop, where when I was creating the EC2 instance, I told you that don't think about anything related to the network. So this is where we are going to talk about the network. So first we'll create a key pair, followed by that we'll create a network, and then we are also going to create the storage capacity for our EC2 instance. On a large scale, these are the three major things. Apart from these, we'll also create the operating system. I mean, we'll select the operating system type, we'll select the core type, and we'll select the RAM type as well. But these three are not so important as far as VPC is concerned. But let us look into these three factors. Okay, the key pair, network, and storage. In particular, let us focus on the network capacity here. Now, whenever you want to create an EC2 instance, it is mandatory to understand where you are creating your EC2 instance, in which network you are creating your EC2 instance. It is so important. So you cannot create, I mean, when you are working in an organization, you cannot create a VPC in the default networks. Okay, you cannot create a VPC in the default networks. If you remember, let me go to my AWS console, and if you click on EC2, in the EC2, when we are launching an EC2 instance, okay, in the process of launching an EC2 instance, let me click on launch instance. And here we know that we have worked with the AMI, which is the operating system, and then the processor type, and then the instance type we have worked with, key pair we have created. And this is where I was talking about the network settings. So I was telling that whenever you are creating an EC2 instance, we will create the EC2 instance in a default VPC. Okay, this is basically called as a default VPC. Now, what is this default VPC? If you click on edit here, there is an option called edit, and you can see a VPC which is available. And this VPC is mandatory in order to create an EC2 instance. Okay, if you want to create or if you want to create an EC2 instance, it is mandatory to work with the VPC part. So since we don't have any idea about VPC, what we will do is we'll just create the EC2 instance in the default VPC. So I was telling that whenever you create an AWS account, okay, whenever you're creating an AWS account, by default, you will get some properties with the AWS account, or you'll get some resources for free of cost with AWS account creation. One such resource which is available for free of cost is the default VPC. Okay, if default VPC, it will come whenever we create an AWS account. But in the real-time scenarios, it is not recommended to launch our EC2 instances in the default VPC. Okay, in the default VPC. So what we have to do, we have to create our own VPCs, and then in that VPC or by using that VPC, we have to launch our EC2 instances. Okay, that is the practical aspect, especially when you're working in the real-time industry. So we have to create our own network, and in that network only, we have to launch our EC2 instances. All right. Now, apart from VPC, or whenever you create a VPC, along with VPC, it is also important to create a subnet as well. Okay, I'll talk about this. What is subnet? I'll talk about that. So it is also important to create subnet as well. Right. So now let us understand the concept of VPC here, right? So to create a VPC, we have to create a network. Now, in order to launch a virtual machine, okay, in order to launch a virtual machine, we have to set up a network. And this network will create a closed loop. Okay, to launch a virtual machine, we have to set up a network. Okay, we have to set up a network using VPC. And this network creates a closed loop. Okay, creates a closed loop. What does I mean by closed loop? Closed loop, I mean here nobody can enter into your network, especially if they have the permission. Until or unless if they don't have the permission, they cannot enter into your private network. It's something like our Wi-Fi system, Wi-Fi thing on it. Suppose let's say you have your own Wi-Fi connection at your house. Now, can others connect to the Wi-Fi network which you are using at your home? No. When they can connect, only when they know the password of your Wi-Fi network. Similarly, network is something, I mean, VPC is something like a Wi-Fi itself. So here, by using VPC, what we'll do, we'll create a closed loop. That means people who are working in that organization only will be able to access the network. Apart from that, nobody else can access. When others can access, only when you give the permission. Okay, but only when we give the permission, they will be able to access our virtual private cloud. It's something like our Wi-Fi network itself, right? But here, what we are going to do is whenever we create the networks, I mean, a single network will not be used for all services that are available in AWS. Okay, single network, by using just one single network, it is not possible to work with multiple features. So depending upon the user, okay, depending upon the use, we have to set up or we have this network, okay, depending upon the user, this network is splitted into, okay, is splitted into different parts which are called as, okay, which are called as subnets. Okay, which are called as subnets. So it is mandatory to create a subnet also whenever you are creating a VPC. Why it is required to create the subnet? Because by creating just one private network or one network connection, it is not possible to work with all the features. So in order to have a distinguished or in order to use the wide range features of VPC, after creating the VPC, we have to divide this VPC into multiple parts. So in order to divide this VPC into multiple parts, we are going to create the subnets. Okay, we are going to create the subnets. So logically speaking, we have two types of subnets. Okay, logically speaking, we have two types of subnet. The first one is called as a public subnet. Okay, the first one is called as public subnet, and the second one is called as private subnet. The first one is called as public subnet, and the second one is called as private subnet. Now, if you remember, whenever I was launching an EC2 instance, after launching the EC2 instance, we used to have one public IP and private IP. If you remember, Let me go to my AWS console. Let me start one EC2 instance. Somebody please mute your mic. Just a minute. Okay. So here, let me just start one EC2 instance, and then I can show you the public IP and private IP. Yeah, here you can see if I select this instance, you can see there is a public IP and there is a private IP. Now, what is the use of public IP? Suppose if you want to give access to the public, okay, let's say in this instance there is some data that is available. You are hosting an application or you are hosting a website, a simple HTML page you are hosting. Now, if you want to give access to the public, okay, if you want to give access to the public, then you are going to use the public IP address. Suppose, let's say, you don't want to give access to outsiders, you want to give access only to specific people. Then in that case, you're going to use the private IP. Yeah. So then in that case, we are going to use the private IP. So here, public IP will be there for our EC2 instance and private IP will be there for our EC2 instance. So public IP is nothing but if you want to give access of your EC2 instance to the public, then you will use public IP. If you don't want to give access to all outsiders, only a group of people, only within the network, then in that case, you are going to use the private IP. Now the question is, how these public IP and private IPs are getting created. It is because of the public subnet and private subnet. Okay, by using public subnet, public IP gets created, and by using private subnet, private IP gets created. So that happens in the background. We cannot actually see that, but that's where it functions. So the public IP for an instance is getting created because of the public subnet, and private IP of the instance is getting created because of the private subnet. Now, let us understand this network part. So suppose if you want to get an access to the network, okay, if you want to get an access to the network, we will use multiple components. Let me show you that. So let me go to my paint screen. I hope you're able to see the paint screen, right? Suppose, let me consider this as my private network. Okay, let us consider this as our private network, which is our own VPC. Okay, this is a closed loop. I'm just creating one closed loop by creating one virtual private cloud or virtual private network, you can say anything. Right. So let me consider this as my VPC. It is my personal VPC, or you can consider it is our personal VPC. Now, you know that this network, okay, we cannot use the single network for multiple options. So in order to have a wide range of features, what we are going to do, we are going to split these networks into multiple parts. Okay, we are going to split these networks into multiple parts. What are these splitted parts are called as? These splitted parts are called as subnets. Okay, these splitted parts are called as subnets. So here, how many types of subnets we have? We have two types of subnets. What are they? The first one is called as a public subnet, and the second one is called as a private subnet. Okay, the public and private subnet. Now here, what you have to analyze or what you have to correlate is assume that this is our entire house area. Okay, this is your network. Suppose, let's say you are constructing a house or you have your own house. This is your entire house area. Okay, whatever this network I'm talking about, this is your entire house. Okay, not just inside the house, including the compound wall, including everything, the main gate, everything. This is your house area. Now, are you going to construct the house throughout the border of your plot? No. So you will leave some spaces here and there. Why you are going to leave some spaces? Because you want to roam throughout your compound. So for that case, what you are going to do, this entire VPC, okay, in this entire VPC, you are not going to construct the house. Instead, what you will do, you will construct the house by leaving some space. Okay, you will construct the house by leaving some space. And this one, I'm calling it as subnet. Okay, this one I'm calling it a subnet. Now, let's assume that this blue color one is your house. Okay, that is where you have constructed the house. Okay, let me call this as a subnet. This is just a subnet. It is neither a public subnet nor a private subnet. So subnet is basically your house. Okay, subnet is basically your house, right? So now you have constructed your house. Now, when you construct a house, do you construct as a single room? No. So what you will do, you will construct multiple rooms. You will construct kitchen, you will have the bedroom, you will have the hall, master bedroom, bedroom one, bedroom two, the various other rooms also like veranda, the portico, like these multiple rooms will be there. Similarly, here subnet, what we are going to do, subnet is actually a very single room. But here we don't use a single room for the entire house. What we will do, we will divide this entire room or we will divide this entire plot into multiple rooms. Okay, we will divide this entire parts into entire subnet into okay, let me call this as another room and let me call this as another room. So now here we have couple of rooms. Okay, room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4 and room 5. Okay, let me give the naming to these rooms. Let's say I'll call this room as hall. Okay, this one, the biggest one, I'm calling it as hall, right? And this one, I'll be calling it as kitchen. Okay, this one I'm calling it as kitchen. And let's say this one I'm calling it as bedroom 2 or bedroom 1. Let me call it as bedroom 2. Okay, and this one I'm calling it as bedroom 1. This one I'm calling it as bedroom 1. And let's say the other one where I'll call it as a storeroom. Okay, I'll call it as storeroom or children's bedroom, something like that you can consider. So here what what I have done, the entire subnet I have divided into multiple rooms, and these multiple rooms are called as subnets. Okay, these multiple rooms are called as subnets. Now let us define which will be our public room and which will be our private room. Suppose let's say hall. Hall is something where your relatives or family friends or anybody who knows us, we will just invite them into the hall. So can we consider the hall as a public subnet? Yes, we can consider hall as a public subnet. Why we are calling it as a public subnet? Because whomever we give the permission, they can come and access our hall or they can come and sit in our hall, right? So that's why I'm calling this as a public subnet. That means if you give permission to anybody to come inside the house, okay, when you're giving permission to enter somebody to inside your house, what will you do as the first case? You will ask them to sit in the hall. So that means hall is a common place where outsiders also can come and sit in your house. That's why I'm calling it as a public subnet. Now, suppose let's say this outsider, can they go into the kitchen? Let's assume that okay, they are not your family members or they are not your close relatives, but let's say they are your far friends. Okay, now obviously you will invite them for lunch or something like that, so they will have an access to the kitchen. So they'll go for a hand wash and they'll do like some kind of kitchen stuff and all. So here, kitchen, can we call kitchen as a public subnet? Yes, we can call kitchen also a public subnet, provided when you give the permission. If you don't give the permission, kitchen will act as a private subnet only. But let us assume that we are giving the permission to this outsider, whoever is coming into the house, we have given the permission to go into the kitchen also. That means kitchen has become a public subnet. Now, let us talk about bedroom 2 and bedroom 1. Now, first, let us talk about the bedroom 1. Now, can they go into can we allow outsiders to go inside the bedrooms? No. So what we can say the bedroom 1 and bedroom 2 as a private subnet. Why we are calling these as a private subnets? It is because we are not going to allow everybody to go into the bedrooms. So that's why I'm calling this bedroom 2 and bedroom 1 as a private subnet. So let me call this as private subnet 1 and private subnet 2. Anything you can just make it in this way. So subnet 1 and subnet 2, or just let it be public subnets only. Right. So here I'm just calling the private subnet and private subnet. Now storeroom, obviously forget about storeroom. It depends on whether we can allow or we cannot allow. But let us focus on these 4 rooms only. So now have we understood the public subnet and private subnet differences? So public subnet is a place where outsiders can come and access our network. But private subnet is a place where we don't allow outsiders to come and access our network. Okay, that's the key difference between the public subnet and private subnet. Right. Now, I was telling that this is your entire house. Okay, I was telling that this is your entire house. The black color one is your entire house. Now, for every house, we have a gate. Okay, for every house, we have a gate. Let me call this as a gate. Okay, I'll just make it in this way. Just a second. So I'll just give this as the gate to enter into our house. Okay, let me call this as the gate to our house. Now, can we allow everybody to come inside our house? Forget about allowing them into the hall or kitchen or any other places. But first, let us understand, can we allow everybody to enter into our house area? No, obviously, it's not possible to allow everybody into our house area. So here, you can decide who can actually wants to enter into your house. Suppose, let's say I have a person. Okay, let us consider a person is available, and this person wants to come into your house. Okay, there is an outsider who is available, and it is now our call as a network creator. It is now our call to decide who can come into our house and who cannot come into our house. Now let's assume that this is the outsider. Okay, he is our outsider person. Now, in order to allow this person, okay, in order to allow this person into our house, okay, in order to allow this person into our house, what we have to do, we have to first ask him to enter through the gate. Only when we give the permission to come through the gate, then only we can decide whether we have to take them to the hall or kitchen or bedroom based upon the flexibility that we have with that person. Now, the first thing is we have to decide whether we want to actually allow them into the network. Forget about the subnet. I just want to decide first whether I have to allow him to the network. Later, I will decide whether I have to take that person to the public subnet or private subnet. So, in order to make sure to allow this person to first enter our house, we have to open the gate. So similarly, if you want any outsiders to enter into our house, especially in the network part, if you want anybody to enter into our private network, first we have to open the gate of our network. That gate is called as internet gateway. Okay, that gate is called as internet gateway. So what is the use of this internet gateway? By using the internet gateway, we can give the access to the person just to enter into the network, not into the subnets or not into the any other part. So just to enter into the network, we can decide whether a person can enter into the network. So in order to decide whether a person can enter into the network or not, we have to open the gate. So in the cloud environment, that gate is called as internet gateway. Okay, that gate is called as internet gateway. So let me write it here, internet gateway. So this is the first thing, right? So now let's assume that you have allowed that person to get inside the gate. Okay, you have allowed that person to get inside the gate. Now, after entering through the gate of the compound, can they directly enter into the hall? No. So you have again the permission, or you have again the feature whether you want to allow this person into your hall or not. Now, for every hall, we have the main door. Okay, for every hall, we have the main door. So now let me assume this as the main door of our hall. Okay, let me assume this as the main door of our hall. Now, for every hall, we have the door. Now, we have allowed the person to enter into the network. Now, we are deciding whether we want to allow that person into the public subnet or private subnet. Now, for every room, we have the doors. Okay, for every room, we have the doors. And these doors are called as routes. Okay, these doors are called as routes. So you are going to route the traffic. Okay, whoever is coming from outside, I'm telling that an outsider is coming and he has entered your network. And this person, you can decide whether he can go to the public subnet or to the private subnet. So for every room, we have the routes, which are called as a doors to enter into the public subnet or private subnet. So this happens for every room. Okay, let me keep these things for every room. Sorry. So I'm just keeping these doors for every room. Okay, the entrance for each room. So that's where we are going to allow the persons by using the routes. That's the second concept that we are coming. The terminology I'm talking about here. So the second one is routes, or you can also call it as route table. Somebody will call it as a route, somebody will call them as a route. Anything is okay. So let me call it as a route only. So here we are going to allow the person to enter into the public subnet or private subnet, and this can be decided by using the route table or routes. So that's the importance of route table or route. So this is how we can decide whether a person, whether an outsider can enter into our network or not. So now, in order to create the network, okay, in order to create a VPC, okay, so we need to create all these components. Let me write the components one by one. So what is the first one? So first we have to create our own VPC. And then after creating the VPC, we have to create the internet gateway. Why we need to create the internet gateway? Because this is where we will allow the person whether to enter inside the network or not. And then once we decided the person to enter into the network, we are going to decide whether a person can go into the public subnet or private subnet. So then next thing is we are going to create public subnets and private subnets. Okay, public and private subnets has to be created. Now, once you create the public subnets and private subnets, we are going to create the doors for public and private subnet. What are those doors called as? Those doors are called as route tables. Okay, those doors are called as route tables. So this is what we are going to do now. Okay, this is the entire setup that we are going to do. Okay, right. So now let us create all these things one by one. Okay, let us create all these things one by one. So it is important to understand this concept. I mean, only when you understand the concept, then only it is possible to get into that concept and work practically. Right. So let me go to my AWS console. I hope you are able to see the AWS screen. Let me go to VPC. In the search bar, just type VPC and you can see the VPC. Okay, just click on VPC. So now let us create a network here. Okay, let us create a simple network. Now remember, whenever you want to create a network, it is mandatory. You should know the IP address. Okay, you should have an idea about using which IP address you want to create your networks. So what I'll do is I have some IP addresses. When you are practicing, you can also use the same IP addresses. There is no problem, but make sure the IP addresses are exactly being used. Okay, whatever the IPs that I'm using. So by using those IPs, we can always create a network, private network. Right. So this is our VPC console. You can see there are a couple of VPCs that are available. There are 3 VPCs that are available, and subnets are also available, route tables, internet gateways, and these are the advanced options: elastic IPs, egress only, ingress only, knuckles, and then VPC peering, NAT gateways. These are all the complete advanced options. So let us not bother about that. Let us create a simple private network first. So just click on create VPC. And here I want to create only VPC. So select only VPC. If you want to create along with VPC, if you want to create other options also, you can see the network diagram here. So first we are going to create a VPC. For the VPC, we need to create the subnets. And in the subnets, we have the public subnet and we have the private subnet. So likewise, at least 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets we have to create. That's mandatory. So once we create the subnet, we have to create the route tables, again, public route table and private route table. Then we are going to work with the internet gateways, which is a network connection. Okay, so this is the setup that we are going to do now. Okay, right. So let me first create as only VPC. I'll just give it as the name of the VPC as AWS Workshop. Okay, AWS Workshop Demo VPC. So you can give any name to the VPC. You don't need to give a unique name. So you can give any name. So here IPv4, I'm just selecting this IPv4. So I told you we have 2 types of IP addresses. One is called as IPv4 and the second one is called as IPv6. So now let us bother only about IPv4. IPv6 is the advanced option. So that's not covered in this one. So let me go with IPv4 CIDR range. What is this CIDR? CIDR is nothing but classless inter-domain range. Let me write that. CIDR is nothing but classless inter-domain range. So we are going to give the domain number for our network, basically the IP address range for our network. That's called as CIDR. Okay. So here, by default, we have some CIDRs. We can use it for free of cost. We don't need to pay any amount. So this is the CIDR that I commonly use, which is 10.0.0.0/16. So I'm just using this network, this IP address range. So you can also use the same IP address range when you are creating. And then IPv6 CIDR block, I'm not going to create any IPv6. Let it be IPv4 only. And then tenancy, let it be the default tenancy, and then click on create VPC. Now with this, what we have done, we have created a VPC with this name. That means if you see the architecture diagram here, so I have created only the outline. Okay, only the outer structure, that is just the black color one I have created, the network I have created. But this network is currently empty. Nothing is available in the network, whatever I have created. Let me take that part out. Suppose if I take this part out completely, okay, so this is what I have created, just the network I have created. Now what we have to do inside this network, we have to create all these resources. So let us create the resources first. Right. So let me go to my AWS console, especially the VPC console. Right. So here I am in the VPC network. Right. So now the next thing is we have to create the subnets. Okay, we have to create the subnets. So how many subnets we have to create? As I was mentioning, at least the 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets are required. Okay, that's a minimum, bare minimum. Okay, 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets. So in order to create the subnets, you can see there is an option called subnets. In the left pane, you can see there is an option called subnets. So just click on subnets here. And now let us create a public subnet and private subnet. So these are some subnets which I am using it for multiple reasons. So let us not bother about these subnets. Let us create our own subnet. So I'll just give the name as, let me just check a couple of names. Yeah. So click on create subnet, and here for which VPC you want to create the subnet. This is asking for which VPC you want to create the subnet. So just click on the drop down. You can see the VPC that we have created now. Okay, select that VPC, because for this VPC only we are going to create the subnet, right? So you can see subnet settings. So here we can create as many subnets as we want. Okay, let me give the subnet name first. I'll just give it as AWS public subnet A. Okay, for AWS public subnet A. I'll just give it as AWS public subnet A. And then in which availability zone you want to create, any availability zone you want to create, you can create. So let me select one availability zone. Let's say I want to select this availability zone, US-East-2A, right? And then we have to give the CIDR range of the subnet. Okay, we have to give the CIDR range of the subnet. So let me give the CIDR range. So you can also use the same CIDR range, 10.0.0/24. This is one range, one one IP address range, right? So I have just created one public subnet. Now let us create the another subnet as well. Okay, another subnet. So how will you create? You can see an option here, add new subnet. So just click on add new subnet and you can create a new subnet. So I'll just give the name as AWS public subnet B. Okay, AWS public subnet B. Let's say I want to create this one in US-East-2B availability zone. You can create in any availability zone. That's completely up to us. So here, let me select 2B as the availability zone. Now, CIDR range of public subnet B. Okay, let me give the CIDR range as a 10.0.0, 10.0.1.0/24. So I'm giving this CIDR range. Okay, so and then let us create the private subnets also. So as of now, we have created 2 public subnets. So let us create the private subnets as well. So just click on add new subnet and just giving the name as instead of public, I'll just give it as private subnet A. Okay, and then availability zone, I'll just select it as US-East-2A, and I'll give the subnet name. Okay, the subnet private subnet A CIDR range as 10.0.16.0/20. This is something which I use again. So just go with this one and then click on add new subnet, because we want to add one more private subnet. So I'll just give it as a private subnet B. Okay, private subnet B. I'll just give it this way. So this one I'm just creating in US-East-2B. And for this one, I'll give the CIDR range as 10.0.32.0/20. Okay, 10.0.32.0/20. Right. So with this, we have set up all the configuration that is required for 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets. Right. So then click on create subnet. So with this, what will happen? You can see the subnets are getting created. Okay, the subnets are getting created. Right. Once we create the subnets, you can see the subnets that we have created just now. So these are the subnets that we have created. So public subnet A, public subnet B, private subnet A, private subnet B. Right. So all these subnets are attached to which VPC? Our own VPC. You can see the VPC name also. AWS Workshop Demo VPC. So for every VPC, we'll have the VPC ID. And for every subnet, we'll have the subnet ID as well. You can see for each subnet, the different IDs will be allotted. And you can see the state of the VPC subnets. All these are currently available. You are ready to use them. And the CIDR ranges, you can see all the CIDR ranges. And then you can see in which availability zone you have launched your public subnets and private subnets. Right. So then by default, what will happen is a route table will get created. You can see a route table has got created. Right. So now the next thing is we have created the subnets. If you see the architecture diagram, I have created one VPC, and in that VPC, I have created the public subnets and private subnets. Now, in order to allow any person inside our network, what we have to do, we have to first create the internet gateway, and then we have to create the route tables. Okay, we have to first create the internet gateway, and then we have to create the route tables. So now what I will do is I'll just create one EC2 instance. Okay, I'll just create one EC2 instance, and then that EC2 instance I will launch in the subnet. I launch in the network which we have created. So let me go to EC2. You will understand why I am creating the EC2 instance. You will understand in some time. Let me just go to my EC2 console and let me launch one EC2 instance using our network. And that means using our private network. Let me stop this instance for time being. Right. So just click on launch instances. So I'll just give the name as VPC instance demo. I'm just giving this name, and I'm selecting Amazon Linux and Linux 2 AMI I'll select, and instance type T2.micro I'll select, and key pair I already have created a couple of key pairs. So I'll try to go with this key pair which we have created on the very first day of our EC2 class. And this is where we are going to work. So network settings, just click on edit. Why we need to edit? Because I don't want to create my EC2 instance in the default VPC. I want to launch my EC2 instance in my own network. So I'm just selecting the network, whatever we have created. You can see this is the network that we have created. Select that one, and then the subnet. Okay, here we have to select the subnet. So let's say I will select a public subnet. Instead of private subnet, let me go with public subnet A. Okay, public subnet A. Right. So now I'm just selecting the public subnet A. Okay, I'm just selecting the public subnet A. And here, auto assign public IP, I'll just enable this one. Okay, I'll just enable this auto assign public IP. And then security group, I'll not change. Let it be the same security group. We don't need to bother about that one. And then let me launch my EC2 instance. Okay, let me launch my EC2 instance. So how many instances? I need only one instance. So let me click on launch instance. So let us wait till the instance gets launched. Yeah, you can see an instance has got created within our private network. Okay, within our private network. Now, if you see, there is the instance that is getting created, VPC instance demo. Right. Yeah, let it be in the available state, then we can work with that. Yeah, it's currently in the running state. Now we know for every EC2 instance, okay, for every EC2 instance, we have the public IP and private IP. You can see the private IP and the public IP. Now, can we connect to this instance? Let us check whether we'll be able to connect to this instance or not. Let me copy the public IP address, go to MobiXterm tool. So we have this tool which is used to connect to the instance. Okay, let me click on that one and let me connect it to the EC2 instance by using public subnet session SSH remote host and then advanced SSH, use private key. And then let me first check what is the key pair that I have used, AWS Workshop Demo. Okay, fine. So let me click on the file icon, and here I'll be selecting, yeah, this one. So let me select that one and then click OK. Let it come. It's getting loaded. Even if you wait for 10 more minutes or half an hour more or 1 hour more, you will not see anything. Why we will not see anything? Earlier, what we used to see, we used to see as login as. Then we used to enter the login username as EC2-user. Now we will not be able to connect to the instance. Why we are not able to connect to the instance? It is because we have not given any kind of permissions. We have created the subnet, but inside the subnet, I have not created any route tables, whether I should give the internet connection or not. Nothing is decided there. So that's why nobody can enter into this network, or nobody can connect to this EC2 instance. Why nobody is able to connect? Because I have created this instance in a private network. So when you create an EC2 instance in a private network, it is not possible to connect to the instance. So now, in order to connect to the instance, what we have to do is we have to provide the internet connectivity. Okay, we have to provide the internet connectivity. So how will you provide the internet connectivity? By using the internet gateway. Okay, by using the internet gateway, we are going to provide the internet connection for our virtual private cloud or for our private network. So the next thing is, let us create the internet gateway. So let me go to my VPC console, and here you can see internet gateways. So just click on internet gateways, and now let us create our own internet gateway. So just click on create internet gateway, and here what I'll do is I'll just give it as AWS Workshop IGW. That means internet gateway. Okay, so I'm just giving the name, and then click on scroll down and click on create internet gateway. Now we have created the internet gateway. Remember, just because you have created the internet gateway doesn't mean you will get the internet connection to your network or to your EC2 instance. It's not possible. You have just created it. We have not configured it. Okay, creation is different, configuration is different. Just because we have created the internet gateway doesn't mean we have configured it. You can see on the top, the following internet gateway was created, and you are now able to, you can see, you can now attach to a VPC to enable the VPC to communicate with the internet. So if you want to connect the internet gateway to the instance or to the private network, first we have to attach this internet gateway to the VPC. So let us attach it. So you can see an option here, attach to a VPC. So just click on attach to a VPC, and here you can see available VPCs. So we have created one VPC, right? You just click on it, it will automatically display all the related VPCs, and then select the VPC whatever you have created. Right. So once you select this one, you can see an option called attach internet gateway. Okay, click on attach internet gateway. So with this, what happened? We have attached this internet gateway to our private network. You can see that here. So what is the state of this internet gateway? It is attached. To which it is attached? You can see for this VPC, it is attached. Okay, for this VPC, it is attached. Right. So with this, internet gateway is attached to the VPC. Why we had attached the internet gateway to VPC? Because the internet gateway itself is something which provides internet access to our VPC. Okay, it is something which provides internet access to our VPC. Now, what I'll do is, what does it mean here? I have created the internet gateway, which I am telling that by using this internet gateway only, we are going to provide the network connection or internet connection to our EC2 instance or to our network. Let us check whether this EC2 instance is getting the internet connection or not. Just press R to restart the session. So press R on your keyboard. So here what happens is, again, even if you wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes also, we will not get it. Why we will not get it? You will again see the error message on. Why we will see that? It is because whatever the internet gateway that we have created, basically it's a plain internet gateway. Nothing is configured in that. What we have done so far, as of now, whatever the internet gateway that I have created, that internet gateway I have just attached it to the VPC. Okay, I have just attached it to the VPC. Nothing I have done. So here, if you see the architecture diagram, I have created the internet gateway, and this internet gateway, okay, this is the internet gateway. This internet gateway, I have attached it to the VPC. Okay, I have attached it to the VPC. Just because you have attached the internet gateway to the VPC doesn't mean you will get the internet connection. What you have to do, you have to attach the route tables also. Okay, you have to attach the route tables also. That means we have to create our own route tables. Okay, we have to create our own route tables for this private network. So that's the next step, which is the last step again. So you can see the option called route tables. Okay, you can see an option called route tables. So now what we have to do is we have to create the route table. So let me create two route tables. One is called as a public route table and the second one is called as a private route table. So let us do that. So just click on the route tables here and you can see an option called create route table. Okay, just click on create route table. I'll just give it as AWS public route table. Okay, AWS workshop I'll do to avoid confusion. AWS workshop public, and for which VPC you want to create this route table? For a VPC of our own, which is this one. So select that VPC, whatever that you have created. So now just click on create route table. So just click on create route table. So with this, what happened? The public route table has been created and it is also attached to the VPC. You can see the status here. So to which VPC this public route table was attached? To this particular VPC. Right. So let us create one more route table, which is called private route table. Okay, which is called as a private route table. Now, how to create that? Again, go back to route tables. Just click on create route table. And here, I'll just give the name instead of public, I'll just give it as a private route table. Okay, private route table. Select the VPC. I'll just select the VPC and then click on create route table. Remember, again, here I'm just creating the route tables. I'm not configuring them. So first we have to configure them now. Okay, so let me go to the route tables console and we will see the route tables that we have created. Drag this. Right. So here you can see the route table which we have created. Okay, so for these route tables, for public route table, what I'll do is I'll attach the public subnets. For private route table, I'll attach the private subnets. Okay, for public route table, I'll attach the public subnets. For private route table, I'll attach the private subnets. Why we are doing this? You can see here in the architecture diagram. For each subnet, we have the routes. So for public subnets, suppose let's say for public subnets, we have a separate doors, and for private rooms, we have a separate doors. I mean, though the doors are same, but the quality of doors might get changed. You don't use a better quality door for our kitchen. Okay, so that's what you can just differentiate in that way, right? So now what I'll do is for this public route table, I'll attach the public subnet. So how to attach the route public subnets to the route tables? So just check the route table for whichever you want to go with, and then go to actions. In the actions, you can see an option called edit subnet associations. Okay, you can see an option called edit subnet associations. So just click on edit subnet associations, and here which route tables I want to attach. For public route table, I want to attach public subnet A and public subnet B. Okay, I'm just selecting this one and then click on save associations. Okay, you can see at the bottom, save associations. So now what we have done, if you see here, so here you can see for public route table, I have attached two subnets. What are they? You can just click here. You can see public subnet A and public subnet B. Similarly, we have to do the same thing for private route table also. So currently for private route table, no subnets are attached. So let us attach the route tables for the private, let us attach the private subnets for the private route table. So let me select that one. go to actions, edit subnet associations, and now let us select the private subnet A and private subnet B. Okay, and then scroll down, click on save associations. Okay, click on save associations. So with this, we have attached the subnets for the route tables as well. Okay, for public route table, public subnets are attached. So for private route table, for private subnets are attached. Right. So now, if you go here, so just check the public route table. Let me go to the public route table. So just check the public route table. So here you can see the routes. If you scroll down, let me drag this up. You can see there is an option called routes here. Okay, so just click on the routes, and here in the routes part, what we have to do is, see, the destination is configuring to which path. This is the CIDR range of our own VPC. Okay, see, this is the CIDR range of our own VPC. And here you can see the target is local. What does local means? This means any IP address within our VPC can be able to connect to our network. Okay, any IP address within this range will be able to connect to our network. That is what local means. Okay, that is what local means. So now what we should do is it should be routed within the VPC, and hence the target is local. That means only few people or only within the community they will be able to connect to that. So that's called as a local as the target, right? So check route table, go to routes, and here just click on edit routes. Okay, just click on edit routes. Currently local is there. That means only I will be able to connect. Now, suppose let's say I want to give you the permission to connect to my private network. How will you give? Just click on add route, and here in the destination, just give this IP address range or CIDR range, which is 0.0.0/0. When you give this one, what it means is here we are going to decide the target. What is our target? So in order to ensure somebody to enter into our house, we have to attach the internet gateway. So that means I am creating one network. For that network, what is our target? Our target is not local. Our target is to reach to the internet gateway. So somebody has to come and wait at the internet gateway. Then we can decide whether to allow them or deny them. So here our target is internet gateway. Just click on internet gateway. Okay, and this is our internet gateway. Select that internet gateway and then click on save changes. Okay, click on save changes. So now what we have done the entire setup, whatever that we have created. Now go back to the network, I mean the mobile extent. Let me press R to restart the session. Okay, now can you see? I'm able to see login as. Why I'm able to see? Because I have configured the entire setup. Let me click on EC2-user and we will see the EC2 logo. That means I have successfully connected to my EC2 instance, which is available in my private network. Okay, so this is how you can create our own networks and then we can work within our network. See, earlier when I was working with route tables, internet gateways, I was not able to see this option called login as. You can see the error messages were appearing, network error, all these things were appearing. Once I have attached the route tables with the internet gateway, then internet started coming. Okay, internet is available for our network. And that's the reason why we have seen it as a login as. And then we have logged into our instance by using the username, which is EC2-user. And now you can do anything, whatever you want in this instance. Suppose, let's say I want to install a software. Let's say I want to install a software called Git. So sudo, okay, this is the command, sudo yum install, sudo yum install git, right? You can see the Git software is getting installed. Like that, you can do anything, whatever you want. Suppose, let's say I want to create a simple file. So how will you create a simple file? I mean, those who are familiar with Linux commands. So using Linux commands, there is a command called touch command. So let's say touch space aws.txt. I have just created a file with the name called aws.txt. If you do ls-l or just ls, you can see the aws.txt file is available. Okay, now I want to write something in this file. Can we write that? Yes. So cat, there is this command called cat space aws.txt. right? You see there is no data that is available. So cat is used to see the data that is available inside the instance. So there currently there is no data. Suppose let's say vi aws.txt. This is visual editor command. Now here I can write some content. Let's say AWS workshop day 7. I'm just writing this. Press escape :WQ. Right, I have written some content in the aws.txt. Let me select. Let me see whether the content is available in that file or not. Cat space aws.txt. Now, can you see the content I have written? So you can do any work now. So you can launch and you can host your application. You can host a database, whatever that you want. You can do anything now. That's the entire concept of VPC. Again, when I say entire, as per limitations are considered, but VPC is something which has to be discussed for at least 6 to 7 days. That lengthy it is. So here I have just given an overview of all the things. So that's from my end for this entire workshop. I would like to thank each and every one of you who have joined this workshop. It's been very pleasure to teaching to all of you. I mean, few are faculty are available, students have registered for this one. Actually, like there were almost 300 plus registrations that has come for this workshop, but I could hardly see, on an average, I could hardly see some 60 to 70 participants were there every day. So that's a great thing. Again, 60 to 70 members showing up every day for 1 to 1.5 hours of time. It's actually a great thing. So I would like to say thank you for each and every one of you who have joined this workshop and who had made it as a big success. And I hope that you have learned a basic details about the AWS cloud. So whatever the things that you have learned, it is all again the basic ones, the preliminary things, just an introduction towards the cloud computing environment. So there is a lot more to explore in the cloud environment. So those who are interested to switch their domains to the cloud environment, or those who are interested to work on the cloud environments, the faculty, the students, the employees, whoever attending this workshop, you are always welcome to explore all these things. There are many and many more things that need to be explored in this AWS cloud as well as the DevOps as well. So feel free to come to contact me whenever you have any doubts or whenever you want to work with AWS cloud. I'm always ready to fetch my hand as far as possible to help you. So before I close this session, I would like to take a couple of minutes to just let you know that there is this internship training which is coming up. So many of you might know this one. So I'll share this poster in the WhatsApp group also. Please communicate with your students, encourage your students if possible. I mean, like you have seen this 7 days content and you might have understood whether the teaching was appropriate or not, whether the contents were appropriate or not. So by analyzing all these things, you can recommend your students or you can suggest your students to undergo with this internship training on AWS. And for sure, so that will be a 30 days internship training. And remember that is all 30 days are working days, excluding holidays. 30 days is a very big thing. So we'll explore a lot more things in that internship training, each and everything in depth. We are going to talk about that, and we are going to cover almost 8 to 9 services in the AWS, the most important services and most commonly used services. So apart from the AWS, I mean, along with AWS internship training, 2 to 3 days of classes will be completely based on Linux fundamentals. Again, Linux fundamentals, not as far as the curriculum is concerned, but as far as the real-time industry is concerned. So in that way only, we are going to teach the Linux classes. And the 2 real-time industry-based projects will be taught, like the deployment of an three-tier application or a simple application, hosting a website in an EC2 instance. So far, we have seen how to host a website in an S3 bucket. So I'll show you how to create and how to host an application in the EC2 instance. All these things will be discussed in that workshop training. So the fee for the workshop training is 3,000 rupees, and the mode of the training is online, completely online, because online. Why we prefer online than offline is once we teach the session, I mean, like once the session gets completed, we are going to provide the recorded sessions for students also. Those who have registered, for all those students, we are going to provide the recorded sessions so that whenever they want to uh, go back and revise the concepts of AWS, they always have the chance of revising the things. And as far as the training is concerned, or the start date of training is concerned, it is completely upon the requirements of the institutions or the department. So whatever the date the institution or the department comes up, so we are ready to start the training. Again, we have to look for a couple of time slots, because we are already providing internship training for 3 engineering students. One college is from Telangana, especially the Hyderabad, and a couple of other colleges are, one is from Kerala and one is from Karnataka college. So recently we have just tied up with one college from Tamil Nadu as well. So that has to be yet finalized. It's not in the finalized state, but it's almost in the discussion state. So even if you're willing to come up and take the internship training, again, internship training, as in, I mean, it's a complete training program. So we'll just give the name as an internship training, but here we'll not tell something just with the name of internship, but in and out of every AWS service, whatever we have listed here, all those things will be discussed. And student will be very aware of all these services, and they can keep those things in the resumes also when they are attending the campus placements or outside of the campus placements, anything that they want. So that's all from my end for this particular session. So what I'll do is I'll share one uh, feedback link, or you can give all your suggestions, whatever you have gone through in this 6 days of internship training. So we are ready to take all your suggestions, and then we'll try to improve better in the upcoming sessions, whatever we have lagged in this 6 days workshop session. Right. Please keep in touch. I mean, if you're having any questions with AWS, you can consider me as one of your sorts. So we can work it out. So that's from my end for this session. Again, a request to all the faculty who are attending this session, please consider your students, or please recommend your students to undergo with this internship training. It's student-friendly price. So usually, I mean, like when we train for corporates, okay, like for corporates also, I'll provide training, but for corporates, it's not just 3,000, it's much, much bigger. So when they go outside, when the students go outside of the campus and when they want to get trained in the same AWS, I would say that a minimum to minimum 10,000 they have to spend. That's for sure. Even we charge more than 10,000. I mean, for the corporate trainers, not just with AWS, AWS along with DevOps, more than 10,000 we are going to charge. So since it's only for students, so we are going to allow students only. I mean, the faculty can also join, provided we'll verify the authentication of the faculty by asking them to upload their ID cards of the college, and then faculty can also join with the same price. Okay, there is no change in the price for faculty. Both for students and faculty, the price remains same. So which is a very beneficial offer, you can say. So consider doing this one. So that's from my end for this particular session. Thank you all. We'll meet in the upcoming workshops. Whenever we create any kind of workshops, we'll just let you know. We have all your email IDs. We'll connect through your email IDs, all these things. So that's what we are going to do. So thank you once again. Thank you.